It won't be completely inflamed, but you want it lower and lower. You get what I'm saying? Once you get over 20, once you get over 15, you have high rates of inflammation. And the higher the number, the greater the inflammation is in the body. So they use the SED rate to find out how high the inflammation is. And this is what they use to determine what your dosage of the medications, what type of medication they're going to use. Okay? Some sedimentation rates can get so high that people lose literally control of their tongues. They can't control the tongue. It'll hang out. If you see that some people cannot control their tongues. If you are in public and you notice this is a sign, physical sign you're looking at, that chances are they may have a lot of inflammation in the body. Once these people are put on a strict plant-based diet, an all-vegetarian diet like we talked about earlier, the problem goes away and the SED rate goes back to normal. Now, just a quick quiz. What should men's rate be?
Less than 15.
Less than 15. Not 15. You want it less. You want it less than 15. What should women's be?
Less than 20.
That's right, less than 20. Okay, now we're going to talk about what items should be avoided. We talked earlier, so we'll just list some of the items. All flesh, right?
That causes.
Eggs, yes. High protein diet causes inflammation. You have high uric acid in the body.
That actually causes the gout.
Yes, it can cause gout. And where's the main part of the body where the gout is?
The joints.
Yeah, in the big toe.
Yes.
Yeah, big toe is a common place. So you want to get rid of. Now, how long did we say eggs can? One egg can cause inflammation. Causes for how many days? Inflammation for 30 days. For 30 days. All right, just one egg. So if the person had 2 eggs for breakfast, that'd be 60 days, huh? Okay. Okay, so we want all flesh and their byproducts. Eggs, of course. Dr. Bingham says the following. No person who is in good nutritional health will develop either osteo or rheumatoid arthritis. Now remember, they believe that osteo is from wear and tear and it's normal. It's not. That means you don't have enough calcium if you're getting osteo. Also, another thing, when you're having joint problems and muscle problems, low magnesium levels. Okay. What items should be avoided? So we said all flesh, they're byproducts. Now let me ask you a question. Is something registering here? What did we say here?
All blood.
What did we talk about the last several weeks? What diseases have we talked about? We talked about cholesterol,
Diabetes.
we talked about hypertension, we talked about diabetes, we talked about allergies, correct? What did we keep saying is to be removed from the diet? Flesh. What else? Byproducts, right? What else? The eggs, right? Isn't that what we talked about in every disease that we've discussed so far? What was the foundation of all the diseases? Flesh eating, right? The cause of diabetes. High-fat diet, which is from flesh eating, right? Cholesterol, from flesh eating. All the diseases in America, you will find that the culprit is flesh eating. And other things, but the main culprit, flesh eating, eggs, anything animal product. There is no recorded sickness when man adheres to the lifestyles of God. Okay. Now, what are the rules we go by when dealing with disease? What do we say? Disease never what? Never comes without a cause, right? If someone were to ask you for the verse for this, where would you prove it to them in the Bible? Disease never comes without a cause. It's in Ministry of Healing, page 127 and page 234. But where would you find it in the Bible? Proverbs 26, verse 2. What'd you say? Ministry of Healing, you'll find it in page 127, paragraph 1, and page 234, paragraph 1. In 127 it says disease is a violation of the laws of health. In 234 it says disease never comes without a cause. So it's actually 234 ministry of healing. Then, so disease never comes out without a cause. Then we're supposed to do what? Find out the true characteristics of the sickness, right? So what is that?
Ascertain the cause.
That's right.
Well, that's fine.
Okay, ascertain the cause. Now let me ask you a question. Did Christ come in contact with lepers?
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
Yes. Was leprosy a contagious airborne disease?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it was. They were to be quarantined. Did Christ contract
No.
leprosy?
No.
Why not? Was it
Maybe
because he
with
was
Moses.
God? Was it because he was divine?
Because he was healthy.
That's right. A lot of people think Christ was able to come in contact with leprosy and not be contagious, not get the disease because he was God in the flesh. That is not why. It was because Christ followed the laws of health. So it doesn't matter what the disease of a person is. Now we want to use common sense. If you know this, you want to use common sense, especially if you have children. But there may be instances where you're in complete contact with a person and they come up to you and they tell you they want to learn about Jesus. Do you run from them because they have a disease? See, if we're in complete health, we don't have to worry about the diseases afflicting the American. We don't have to worry about what kind of dirt we're breathing in.
Find out.
We have to get our immune system so built up that no matter what the sickness or disease is, if we come in contact, whatever spore it may be, whatever bacteria it may be. Now, we want to do everything to be sure we do all in our power. For example, should we be negligent? Well, I'm a healthy person and I follow the laws of health, so it's okay if I stay in a room that's closed with the windows and it has mold. No, we have to use common sense. But when dealing with people, you know, you might have people who have AIDS coming to you, HIV positive, wanting to shake your hand. And how did Christ treat the lepers?
Like normal people?
He was not fearful of the disease, was he? When the lepers came running, what did the people do? They took off running for their lives. Why? Because they knew that they could get that disease. But if you're following the laws of health, we are told that we will not get the sicknesses that plague America today.
That is why there's a truth in the statement that says you do not catch a cold, you eat a cold.
I never heard that
I
one.
heard that from my husband.
Amen. Okay. Okay, so ascertain the cause. Work intelligently to remove it. Okay.
Let's look back at cause and effect that you guys have.
To remove. And this is another rule. Do not add what? Poisonous what?
Substance.
Poisonous medicines. Do not add poisonous medicines, we are counseled. Okay.
Are there medicines that are not poisonous?
She calls them poisonous medicines.
That
In
means
other words,
all-
all medicines are
Right.
poisonous.
Okay, I understand.
She's calling them poisonous medicines. In other words, all medicines are poisonous.
Prescription.
Absolutely. Not even prescription,
counter.
over the counter.
Yeah.
She says over the counter as well. You don't need a prescription for those.
Yeah, but they just lower doses.
Okay, now, does anyone know what amino acid in the body a person with a lot of arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis,
Acid
what amino acid,
can be
which is the natural painkiller in the body? And the reason when they get arthritis and they get the inflammation, it depletes this natural painkiller in the body, which is an amino acid, and that's why they get a lot of the pain. It's called L-tryptophan. And I didn't bring my books. I have to remind myself to bring my book tomorrow so I can show you what foods are high in L-tryptophan. Because that's very important to add these foods for people who have arthritis. For this reason, they create a deficiency in niacinamide. Niacinamide. What do you see here?
Niacin.
That's right. And what vitamin is that? B3. Guess what is the highest source of all plant foods for this? Didn't we learn last week bran is the highest source of fiber? We learned bran is the highest source of something else last week too. Bran is excellent to put in your food, to include in your diet. It's very high in the B3. Oh, we learned it's great for cholesterol, bran. It absorbs the cholesterol from the body. Now, something I did not talk about last week when we were talking about cholesterol that I needed to include is when you have increased cholesterol in the body. And I believe I have the rationale. Yes. Do not eat any vanilla. Whether it's an extract or the bean. Does anyone know why? Vanilla produces bile. What do you need in order to have bile? What makes the bile? You get the bile from the cholesterol. The liver makes the cholesterol. The bile comes from the cholesterol. So in order to have bile, you have cholesterol. So if somebody has increased cholesterol and they're eating vanilla and they need bile because the vanilla makes the bile, what else are they going to have extra in their body?
More cholesterol.
They're going to have more cholesterol. So these are one of the food items that you want to keep out. Also, if a person has high blood pressure, they say keep vanilla out of your diet. Whether it's the vanilla bean or whether it's, because some of these plant foods have certain ingredients in them that when you have diseases, now when you go back to a healthy, and they give you a good clean bill of health, you can go back to these foods. We're talking about as long as you have high blood pressure or you have increased cholesterol. Okay. Okay, so step number 1. So now we're going to, when you come to my bathroom, remember the 3 things? You see water overflow, the sink's plugged, water's out, the water's running, and what's the first thing we do? Turn off the faucet, right? Okay, so the way you turn off the faucet, step number 1. This is step 1. You want to remove anything that causes inflammation. What did we say some of those things were? We said meat, animal byproducts, right?
Yes.
What about MSG?
Yes.
MSG. What about aspartame?
Yes.
What about food coloring?
Yes.
If it's not meant to be eaten, if it's a chemical, if it was made in a lab, if it has a face, a mama, if it comes from a mama, if it has a liver, if it was made in a lab, leave it alone. So would that include your soy sauces? Was soy sauce made in the lab? Was, right? They do a certain process to the beans. I'm not talking about the stuff you make naturally in your home. I'm talking about the stuff you buy in the stores that's sitting on the shelf. That stuff that's canned, most of it has chemicals in it. Where do chemicals come from? A lab? Yes. If it's made in a lab, what about canitarians? Remember we talked about that? Now, if you find an item, let's say it's corn, all right, or green beans, and it has a little sugar in it, you can pour that can. If that's all the person has, I'm not going to judge them. You can take that and put it in a strainer and rinse it off. You know, if that's the best that they have. They need vegetables to